the geopolitical news flow, be it what's happening between Israel and Gaza, or, well, we've heard this morning that Vladimir Putin is in China, and that axis with all the Russia versus the West, how big an event it is to upend the positive momentum that had come back into risk assets, particularly equities, in the last 4-5 months?
Well, indeed, I think we're living in a particularly geopolitically charged world. But I think what's important here, and indeed with every geopolitical event, is to remember that financial markets ultimately have a narrow view. So many of the events you described, of course, very significant from a political standpoint. But the question we always ask ourselves is, what's the channel back to financial markets? And how significant is it that that channel gets activated? So if I take the history of Middle East conflicts, for example, the vast majority of them over the past 5 to 6 decades had largely no impact on financial markets, including on oil prices. And the reason for that is, if you think about conflicts that involved Israel and its neighbors, for example, they didn't really involve a significant interruption of oil supplies. Now, there were some conflicts that did, like the Gulf Wars, and we did see a reaction in markets. But for us, that's really the key. And I think if I think about some of the events you described, at the moment at least, we don't see a significant lasting impact to markets to the oil price channel. But of course, there are several scenarios we're sort of putting around this. And I think that's, whether we escalate within those scenarios is, I think, going to be a key thing to watch.